Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and today we're going to do a 5-minute portrait with this Mustang and the Nikon D3200 with 35 1.8. Let's go and do it. So here we go. We're off to find a location to shoot this car. Now, it's a rental car, it's not my car, and I'm only going to be shooting with the Nikon D3200 with 35 1.8 because it's more of a challenge to stick with one lens and to use the new D3200. We're gonna see what we come up with. So what I'm looking for is something with a deep background. I like deep backgrounds because you have a chance of blowing things out and making it look kind of interesting. Got to check both ways here in the senior center retirement home community. People seem to be interesting drivers here. So what is my goal here with the car? It's to find some interesting pictures that I may not have seen before. So you could do a full shot of the car, you could do shots of the engine, even though I did look at the engine to check first. It's not very special. There's nothing going on under the hood in this car. So it's not really worth taking pictures of. But you've got emblems, you've got interiors of the car. You don't want to forget that. And you've got the whole exterior. So I'm gonna shoot with, like I said, with the D3200 and the 35 1.8, and we're gonna find out how that camera works and just do a 5-minute portrait and see how we do shooting this car. Now, the first thing is finding this location where the lighting is just right, being that it's 3:30 right now when I'm going to record this. I started at 12, but the light was terrible at 12, so I didn't want to shoot then. Looks like I got an old timer riding my butt right now. Slow down, I'm only doing 25. I'm doing the limit, it's 25. So I most likely will be shooting in manual exposure, and this is starting to look nice. I don't know if you can see some of the trees running out next to me, but the problem is it's the open road, and I don't want to be interrupted by people driving. Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. 88 miles an hour. Okay, I'm starting to see something that would be good if I could just block the way. But everybody knows that the way is paved in gold. It's always summer, it never gets cold. I may have to end up in a parking lot and find a shot in a parking lot. We'll see what that looks like. I'd love to drive up on the grass too. I probably could and get away with it. Duck! Goose! Squirrel! So it's interesting when you don't know where you're gonna photograph and you have the challenge of having to make it work, whether it's a parking lot or whatever. If you're doing a wedding and you only have a parking lot to shoot in, you should be able to figure out how to shoot there and get quality images. All right, so we're pulling into the main area, and I think I found a spot with a really deep background with not too many trees or light poles in the way. It's not the most ideal place to shoot, but my challenge to myself was to photograph in this retirement community without leaving it, because that's part of the challenge. So take an interesting location and try to make it work. So what I'm gonna do is take the tail end of the parking lot because no old timers are parking there. There's no handicap spots. I'm gonna pull my car in sideways. That's a big pole that says B. I'm gonna go around the other way. Yeah, because there is a pole in the way and I don't want that pole in the way. So excuse me as I go around this way and illegally turn. Oh no, I can turn this way. I'm just gonna have to turn around. This is gonna be much better. So here we go, let's just turn this car around. I'll put it in across 7 spots so I can get a lady telling me only take 1 spot again. And the sun is coming from that direction. And I'm gonna turn the car like this. And this is what I'm gonna do. All right, let's get set up to do this shoot and see how this 5-minute portrait with the Nikon D3200 and 35 1.8 turns out. So here we go, we're ready to start this 5-minute portrait shooting this Mustang. What? Wasn't me. With the Nikon D3200 and 35 1.8. Why am I using this basic setup? Because I want to show you that you can get great images with anything. Sure, I would love to use my 70 to 200 2.8 to photograph the ar because I feel that that is the longer range when you're shooting at 200 is going to compress the background more and not make everything as pretty much just, what is it? Not make everything as prevalent in the background. So When you shoot at 200, it's going to compress the background, it's going to blur out. Now I'm using a 35-1/8, so I do have the ability to shoot at 1/8, but it may not really matter at 35 if I'm filling the car. So we got to see what's going to happen. That's why I'm going to play around here, see what we can do. And the same thing holds true. If you had a Canon, if you had an Olympus, if you have a Sony, any one of the basic cameras, you should be able to get great images with it. And that's what we're going to do right here with this camera right now, photographing this car. So let's just do it as we have a car coming down the wrong way. Hopefully they don't hit the camera or hit me, but they drive really, really slow because it is a senior place. So I'm going to take my glasses off. So I am starting in manual setting. Why am I in manual? Because I want to control what the camera is going to do. I'm going to start at, say, what, 2.8? 3.2. About 4,000th of a second at 100 ISO. The reason I'm at 100 is because it's low, you know? It's bright out here. You're going the wrong way. It's the wrong way. There's lines, she's going the wrong way. But anyway, let's just start shooting. So I want to fill the frame. I want to fill the frame with this car and nothing else. Yeah, low angle. Locking my focus in. Boom. And there is a big light pole in the background, so let's see if we can blow that thing out. Oh, well, the shot looks good. The colors look good. There's a big, huge light pole in the background. So I'm just going to shift this way to cut that pole out. Well, let's see. I'm going to lock in right on the middle of the car. Boom. Let's see how that looks. That looks good. I mean, it's a basic car shot. Well, let's see if we can do this from a little further back and get a vertical. Instead of just now, not going to get the vertical. I'm just going to keep changing angles here, see what we come up with. I'm just looking, and that's what I'm doing. I'm looking through the camera to see if I can find just interesting shots of this car. Yeah, here we go. We got some interesting lines. Now I'm going to go down to I'm going to stay at 3.2 here. Just have to be able to lock my focus in. Boom. Let's see how we did here. Something's in focus. I don't know what is, but something is. It's hard to tell out here on a small screen. But here we have the Mustang running. Line that up, frame it right in the middle. Boom. Let's see what we got. Awfully dark. Now I gotta slow my shutter speed down to let more light in, because at 4,000th of a second it's dark. So I'm gonna go to 1600th at 3.2. Boom. Should be better, and it is. So there's a couple of things you could have done here to let more light into the camera. You can slow the shutter speed down, which lets more light in. You could bump the ISO up, which is gonna let more light in as well. Or you could change your aperture to let more light in, but I chose to just change the shutter speed. So what other interesting things and backgrounds do we have with this car? I love the palm trees in the background, but I just have to feel it. And it's a challenge with one lens just to figure out what you have to do here, because that pole in the background isn't doing me too well, and there's cars in the background. How much lower can I get? Let's try to blow this out. I'm gonna go to 1.8. Let's get to 1.8 here and see if I can do this. I may have to cheat. The reason I may have to cheat is because this only goes to 4,000th of a second, and it doesn't really blow the background out way too much. So I'm going to go back to 2.8. There we go. So I can drop the shutter speed just a little bit. Just back up a little. Get my composition right horizontally. The lines are going to look awfully, wow, that looks good actually. Filled the frame very well. Let's do it one more time. Now be careful, here's a bad shot because I cut off the front of the car. You have to watch in the frame the whole time. I'm checking the angles to make sure that I have everything in just like that. Now let's get to the front of the car and see if we've got anything interesting. Oops, lost my glasses. Interesting. Light and shadow, airplane on both sides. This is challenging. This is a lot different than shooting people because the car's not really moving like people move. Let's look at the reflection in the car. This is cool when you see the reflection. I actually want more of the reflection and really nothing else. That's pretty cool. This could turn out to be a really good shot. So could this one. So what I'm making sure is that I fill the frame and I don't want any pieces not in the frame. All I want to see here is this reflection of these palm trees in the background because I think it's pretty cool. This is what you have to do. You have to search around looking for these shots. You know, with things like this, it's not always easy just to find the picture. You have to look around, then you have to figure out how to capture it and what to do with it. Ideally, if I was out on a beach, on an open road, different lighting, I would be using a 300 2.8 to compress the background so that the car really popped. But with just a basic 35 1.8, we can still get great images. It's just more of a challenge. And that's why I'm being challenged right now. Nope, not feeling it, not feeling it. And if you don't feel it, don't take it. Because if you don't feel it, you know it's not going to be good to begin with. You probably shouldn't do it. I'm really looking. I'm looking here. I'm going to try to do a vertical from far back and see how we do with it. Let's see, low angle. It should look fine, and it does. It's just not very interesting. It's pretty boring. And that's what I'm finding here is that a lot of these are pretty boring right now. And that's the challenge of this. I'm going to try to, let me come up to a different angle now. Big sun reflection, big sun reflection. Let's see how we do right here. All right, all right. I don't have that big pole in the background, but now I have the apartments on the other side in. This is kind of showing you how important it is to pick the right location. But I do have to say the low angle is much better. I know a lot of what I've taken so far has been this, and I think that's a good one. Looks good. Yeah, that pole's in the background. Not much we can do about it with it right here. But these are looking not that bad. Now, let's go look at some details in the car and see what we can find when we're shooting to see if this works out any better. We'll be right back. So now that we're back, I'm gonna try to go around the car again and find the details. We've already done the wide shots, the typical shot of a car, which I think is fine. It's gonna look good, and it would be good in a trading magazine. If you're gonna sell it, if you're gonna post it on a website, it's going to look good. The key things to remember when you're photographing things like this, like the car, is going to be the background, the location, the lighting, the lenses that you're going to use. I'm gonna put my glasses on while I talk to the camera, because then I don't have to squint. Yes, much better. So location, lighting, lens selection. In this case, we know that we're using just the basics. But if you had to do this, even with a basic kit lens like a 55 to 200, if you zoomed out to 200 at 5.6, backed up a long way, filled the frame with the car, you still would get some nice bokeh in the background. So going to the beach, going onto a mountain, near a mountain, a scenic area will be good for shooting the car. Some other things you want to keep in mind that, I don't know. What was I going to say? Scenics for shooting cars. Yeah, the lighting. A lot of times they throw babes on cars. To me, that's not what this was all about, because the only babes going around here are 75 plus. I did see one at the pool today. She had a tramp stamp on her back, and she had a belly button piercing, and she was tanned beyond belief, but I didn't get her number. Don't worry about it. So really, I'm going to challenge myself right now after those little tips to try and find some more details in this car to get some interesting photos of. But keep in mind all the things that I just said about location, lighting, lens selection in mind for when you are going to do this yourself. So let's do it. Let's see what we come up with. And open road stuff's pretty cool too. Maybe I could do some panning stuff. Why don't I just try to do some panning stuff? Now, this is going to be interesting. I am going to slow the shot. I'm going to bump my aperture really high. So I'm going to do something like f22 because it's really bright out here. So I'm going to look. Now this is just playing around. I haven't done this in a long while. f22, going to slow my shutter speed down. How far will it go? 40th of a second, 50th of a second. Let's see if I can do some panning stuff and make this actually work with the car standing still to see if we can give it some interest and change the background up. All right, so the full car is in here. I really wanted to go slower than this, but I'm gonna lock in on the car and I'm gonna move at the same time. And it's a blurry shot. Let's see if we can do this again. I really want it to be slower, a slower shutter speed, but I'm out of aperture. I'm out of, I can't go any higher, I can't drop my ISO, and I can't bump my shutter speed any higher, so I'm kind of SOL with that. But I could cheat the system. I'm gonna go to a 20th of a second. I may have to bring this back in the computer. Actually, I'm gonna go even further. Let's go to an 1/8 of a second and see what we have. I'm locked in, and now I panned across. All right, you can see what that looks like. Now I'm gonna go back up to a 20th of a second and try to focus on getting this right. So I did a slower pan. Nope, not so good. It just looks like a blurry shot. Now I got the full car in there. Okay, let's see, is it just a blurry shot or does it actually look interesting? I don't know. I can't tell on the back of the screen, so it's either a total fail, but I tried something. Let's get back to what we were doing, because that probably could have been a total fail, but at least we tried. You never know what's gonna happen until you try. So I loved the reflection in the car. That looked really good with the palm trees. We could play around with that. Okay, we've got the Mustang emblem right here on the side of the car. I'm gonna fill the frame with it, and I don't want to get the wheel in the car in the picture. So I'm just shifting my angle. Here, let me show you. That's with the wheel in it. It could be okay, but my idea was not to get the wheel in it, so I'm recomposing because I didn't want to do this shot, which is right in the middle. I wanted to do something more like this. Rule of thirds, threw the Mustang off to the side, and it looks pretty good. Now I want to get even closer to it, the head of it. Boom. We got the tail out of focus. We got the head of the Mustang going well. I love the racing stripe thing. Now there's a vertical for you. So now we're finding some stuff. It's good. Exposure looks good. We've got the car, we got the wheels, we got the locks. You got my butt in the picture. So let's see what else we can come up with before we wrap this up. I'm just taking a walk around the wild side, seeing what kind of interesting angles. And don't forget, it's always good to look through the camera to figure out if there's a shot here or not. So I'm back to the reflections. I love these reflections. I really like the way that the reflection is in there. Look how that pops out. It's kind of interesting. It's really obscure, but it's interesting. One more of these. No, wow, you can watch how it, this is like doing a landscape. There we go. Just gotta get my focus. Boom, I think that's gonna be a good one. Even with that light pole in there, it looks pretty cool. That's pretty cool. We're gonna play with that and see what we come up with. All right. I think that's where we should end the 5-minute portrait, as we've gone up a little further than 5 minutes as always. This was a challenge. This wasn't the easiest thing to do. One, finding a good location, which I don't think I really did. Two, using just the D3200 with the 35 1.8 wasn't that easy. The backgrounds aren't that interesting, and it's an inanimate object. It's not something I'm used to shooting, but it's a challenge to try to come up with something different and shoot different things. That's why I tried to do some panning stuff. Now, if the car was moving, the panning would work better. Instead, it just looks like a blurry, out of focus picture or some movement, because that's literally what I did, is I moved the camera, and it didn't turn out too well. But that's the nature of the beast. It's all about trying. You're not going to get perfect shots every single time, but I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some keepers from this little photo shoot, 5-minute portrait with the Mustang, and we'll see what we come up with. And there you guys have it. That's a 5-minute portrait shoot with the Mustang, Nikon 35 1.8 on the Nikon D3200. Until next time, from Florida, Jared, Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya. Backing up, backing up. Hey. Excuse me, do you know which way to San Jose? Yeah, I'll take a Chick-fil-A special, number 3, with fries, and can you biggie size that for me? Do you shoot raw?